But first, to the vice presidential debate, which exposed several media falsehoods. Now, it was a refreshing exchange of ideas, not dominated by personalities, but policies.
Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect. And I'm a knucklehead at times, but it's always been about that. All I said on this is I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said.
Honestly, Tim, I think you got a tough job here because you've got to play whack-a-mole. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver rising take-home pay, which of course he did. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver lower inflation, which of course he did. And then you've simultaneously got to defend Kamala Harris's atrocious economic record, which has made gas, groceries, and housing unaffordable for American citizens.
Just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank you,
Margaret. The rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own leadership.
Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those laws have been on the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The CBP app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
Gentlemen, the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut.
Both candidates were measured in tone, which allowed for the philosophical differences between both parties to play the lead role. It also shattered a lie told to you by the American media. There has been an insidious and coordinated media attack on the character of Senator James David Vance. Now, ad hominem attacks on conservatives are nothing new, but this one was simply weird.
I think Kamala Harris is going to pick anyone as weird and creepy as JD Vance.
It demonstrates and shows us exactly what he believes in by selecting a JD Vance, who is quite, you know, as the campaign said, weird.
The agenda, the way they talk to people, the way they address people, it is bizarre. It's weird. It is weird.
These are weird people on the other side.
Donald Trump seems to be drifting away from his own nominee because he's had so many weird views.
Unfortunately, Vance's weird views are not even winning praise from within his own party. Donald Trump and his weirdo running mate and the Republican apparatus behind them will regroup.
It's not just that he said a lot of things that are weird. It's not just a weird style that he brings. It's that this leads to weird policies.
But when the public got to hear directly from Vance, many were shocked that this supposedly evil caricature of a Republican that they had been told to fear was not only reasonable, but he was articulate. And a lot of people witnessed this performance. Analytics company Nielsen estimates that 43 million Americans watched the debate on TV, with many millions more opting to stream it. Polling also suggests that the debate was received positively by voters. Now, this, of course, infuriated the hacks at MSNBC who have been overtly campaigning for the Democrats. They want you to ignore what you saw and what you heard because they claim it was all a lie. That wasn't the real JD Vance that they have come to loathe and fear.
There were so many niceties on that debate stage tonight. I am just kind of like, well, if you agree so much with JD Vance, why should they vote for you? I fully believe that Governor Walz went out there tonight and did what was practiced in debate prep, did what the strategy was that the team put together. That was not the Governor Walz that I had seen out on the campaign trail. That's not the Governor Walz that I had seen during the Veep stakes, right? That was not the JD Vance that I know to be true. I mean, goodness, JD Vance was on that stage. He was sorry about Amber Thurman. He was sorry about he was sorry about a lot of stuff. We get things wrong, but do you agree with the policy?
And the New York Times published perhaps the most radical and unhinged commentary of the debate. They allowed columnist Masha Geeson to make the argument that the act of debating itself was wrong because it puts Democrats and Republicans on a level footing. And because we all know that Republicans are evil monsters, by allowing the debate, we are justifying the acts of evil.
I went into Tuesday's vice presidential debate with a sense of dread because I thought that the last debate was kind of a disaster. And by disaster, I don't mean that Kamala Harris didn't hold her own against Donald Trump or that Donald Trump scored any points in the debate, but that the fact of the debate itself and the format of the debate, which placed these two candidates on a sort of level footing, treated them both as normal politicians, and treated the things they said as normal political statements.
Well, that's crazy, and dare I say, weird stuff from an outlet which is so self-indulgent it refers to itself as the newspaper of record. The paper of record advocating against debate is perhaps the best way to sum up modern journalism. Well, joining me now is the Australian's media writer, Sophie Ellsworth, and Sky News contributor, Louise Roberts. Louise, let's start with you. What did you make of the debate?
Well, Waltz locked me when he said that he was a knucklehead. I think that's not something you really want a presidential candidate to be talking about in a way, whereas I think JD Vance was very presidential, dare I say it. He was very youthful. He didn't have an issue with tackling the fact checkers as well, which I thought was a very bold move, and it made a very good impression, I think, on myself, as well as I think audiences around the world too. So I just don't understand Waltz at all. I don't understand why he has to embellish his history and claim to be in Tiananmen Square when in fact he was in Nebraska, and he's forever having to sort of overcome this sort of goofy, bumbling suburban dad routine that he's created in some sort of effort to win over the white male vote. So for me, it was definitely Vance was the winner.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with all of that. And Sophie, Waltz appeared to be intellectually outmatched. And I think the point that I made in my editorial, which is, I think for people that have been watching the media coverage who don't quite know who JD Vance is, who are just getting little snippets of information from bulletins and headlines, they would think that he is this crazy, weirdo, ultra-conservative nut job, because that's what they've been telling him. And they've obviously polled that answer. They've obviously market tested it. It's no reason that they were all using this word weird, and you could see it all over Twitter. What do you think of the way that JD Vance was able to pivot from this? And do you think he was able to effectively show the American people who he was directly?
Well, I think he spoke quite well throughout the debate. He did challenge the moderators there, and you can see that they were quite quick to try and stop him from doing that. Yeah. But when you call someone weird, it's kind of hard to push that away and fight against it. If someone says you're weird, how do you defend yourself against that? So it's kind of a label that sticks and then does go throughout all the media. But I do think these debates are really important so that the American public can make their own minds up with both of the vice presidential candidates speaking to their points. And I thought, you know, they were quite fair to each other. But I think the American public are not silly. They can see sometimes these moderators are favourably on the Democratic side. And I don't think that's always a good thing because they can see through the bias there. But I think the more of these debates we have in the lead up to the election, I think the better.
Yeah, definitely. And Louise, I think the other point to make as well, what Sophie was saying about the fact-checking, the way that JD Vance handled that was rather calm. And I think the mistake that Donald Trump made at the last debate was he got baited into this kind of the petty semantics over crowd sizes, whereas JD Vance was able to, I guess, give life to some of these policies that they're running on and take a little bit of the drama out of it, even though he was pushing back against some of these bizarre fact checks.
That's right. He took a very presidential tone, I felt. He took control. He sort of challenged it, but then shut it down and realised the whole point of this debate was to talk about the two men in question and their policies. So, yeah, impressive.